Okay, so this is a video about a problem that I'm having. I had docked the Zune 80 for its initial first-time docking, which of course told me to update the firmware. So I clicked on next and I proceeded. I left it alone for a couple minutes. I came back and this is what I saw. Device was not updated. Your device did not update, and then of course there is an error code that is not in human English. And then if I look down here at the Zune itself, you'll see that the Zune is actually telling me that there's been a problem. It says on your PC, open the Zune software and restore the Zune device firmware. So it looks like this was a bit of maybe a botched firmware upgrade. It's definitely a little bit confusing why it didn't work. I mean, this is all very, kind of stock stuff. So I'm going to click on OK. And I'm going to click on install, and I guess we'll see if maybe it's going to try to update the firmware again. Yeah, so it's actually re-downloading the Zune firmware, and it says it's installing it, and the Zune itself, I'm just going to zoom in on that. So here's the Zune 80. You can see that it's actually rebooting, and it's of course going to be applying. It's going to be applying the Zune firmware. Now, hopefully this process doesn't take too long. Okay, now it's probably going to reboot again there. Camera went a little bit blurry there, sorry about that. So it is rebooting, it is applying the firmware, and hopefully that means that my Zune won't end up as a brick. That would be pretty unfortunate. Switch back to the Zune software here. And we will see what happens when the Zune comes back. Okay, so the Zune is actually reconnected. It looks like it has the new firmware because if you check out the device, it's actually booted up into its normal mode, which I think means, although it doesn't say connected to the desktop, which is kind of peculiar, Windows gave me the chime saying it was connected, so I guess we'll just watch the Zune software and see what it does here. I'm hoping it's going to say that it's connected and everything's fine. I'm actually not too sure what it is that I'm seeing. I don't know if this is a screensaver or what this is. I'm actually just gonna touch my Zune here. Wow. Okay. So it looks like the Zune 80 comes with a really kick-ass screensaver. So that's totally baffling. It's very, very intriguing. I wasn't aware that it had that, but of course up on the desktop software here, unfortunately it still says that it's updating my Zune. So I'm going to undock the Zune. I'm going to, off camera, I'm just going to check the firmware version. Okay, so I'm not sure if this is going to show up, but you can actually see that the Zune firmware has been updated to 2.1. So it did update itself even though the desktop software was kind of confused. So I'm going to redock the Zune, and I'm going to hope that the desktop software is smart enough to kind of snap out of its current state of not letting me complete. Oh, there we go. So now it's actually saying that the device is up to date. I have 80 gigs of storage and it's version 2.1. So that's exactly what I wanted. So a little bit of a stumble there, but well, not too bad. It's asking me to name my Zune. I'm going to be generic, and I'm just going to call this guy Zune 80. I'll think of a cooler name later. And I'm going to skip linking it up. And then again, just like I showed you before with the Zune 8, this is all of the default content. Now, what's interesting is that on the Zune 80, it automatically selects sync all of my pictures. Now that's quite different because on the Zune 8 everything was set to let me choose. So this seems to be a scenario where Microsoft is optimizing based for the hard drive size on the Zune. What I find interesting is that it did not select sync all of my music. So I don't know if Microsoft is, research tells them that someone that buys a Zune 80 maybe has a ton of music and they might not want it all on there, but that's alright. I'm just going to switch everything to let me choose. I'm going to click on finish, and then now when I switch down to the Zune device tab, you'll see that it actually shows me the Zune 80. I totally love the graphics and the user interface of this whole section. Now, what's kind of bizarre is that I'm not aware of any way to delete these Zunes that I don't actually sort of want to have in here anymore, because like I said, there's one Zune that is named completely wrong. Oh, Oh, now that's actually a really interesting touch. If you notice when I switch from the green Zune to the black Zune, you can see that it actually changes the background. It goes from being a green and kind of pink background to being a darker blue and pink background. So I guess depending on which Zune you connect, you can actually have different backgrounds. And I did notice that there's some background settings and options. So again, really, really nice fit and finish here. Really impressive. So the next thing we're going to look at is synchronizing a Zune 30, the first generation Zune, and see how that process works.